Marco Polo isn't an explorer.
The Marco Polo sheep, it is the ultimate wild sheep ram.
This creature demands our respect.
And they live in some of the most wild places in the world.
When you just look at it with your eyes, it just scares the out of you.
At altitudes up to 17, 18, 19,000 feet.
They are daunting.
Some of the roughest country that you can imagine.
This place will kick your...
But that brings us to our camp, which I was shocked.
Toughest filming and hunting I've ever done. There were times when my horse went down on me.
We were put on this earth to eat these animals, to hunt these animals, and to be good stewards of these animals.
What sustainable use hunting and conservation hunting has done is given a value to that resource. Key is to make sure that everyone gets a little piece of the pie.
If the Kyrgyz or any other Central Asian country banned the hunting of wild sheep and other big game animals, it would probably have a disastrous effect on the wildlife populations. One sheep hunt will give them more than they will ever gain economically from their livestock for years.
Unregulated hunting can have an extreme negative impact.
They would have no reason to keep these wild sheep here because they compete for the forage of their domesticated animal.
I'll tell you what'll happen. Poaching.
Да, конечно, без этого, конечно. Все равно, если закроют охоту, то егеря будут защищать диких животных, баранов и козерогов.
I feel like I'm in Asia or Russia.
How much?
7 hours in this thing, up over those mountains. And there ain't even room for 2 people, and we gotta fit 5. I'm like, this is gonna be interesting, because there's no way we're gonna get 5 more people in this thing, and all of our gear.
Wow, look at that. Not very good. This is really good.
Yeah, it took probably 25, 30 minutes, and they had the loaded on there.
How many guys have to fit back here?
3 of us.
Shut up. How are you going to do that? And we're going to go through the snow over a pass, right? 4-wheel drive.
Pass, right.
Yeah.
Brand new tar roads, though, yes?
No tar road.
All of us were jam-packed in this tiny little van with all the weight of all of our gear.
We got in this thing and took off at a crawl and hit the mud road, and these guys drive like the worst crazy drivers you could think of in the States. You know, that's about where these guys start. It would be like the county road got patched for 20 years and never fixed. So they're pretty rugged, pretty bumpy.
We had conditions to deal with. You got to go where these animals live, and where they live is high up in the mountains where there's snow. And you got to go over passes. And we were in the craziest van ever. I mean, all of us were jam-packed in this tiny little van.
And we traveled clear up to, I don't know, about 12 or 13,000 switchbacky, snowy, sloshy semis, blowing snow and mud onto the car or to the vehicle, and it was a little hair-raising. The transmission in that old rig is probably needs to be replaced or fixed, but it kept jumping out of 4-wheel drive, and the gal that was in there was holding the 4-wheel drive in with her foot while the old man was driving the rig, and felt like more like Shaggy and Scooby-Doo or something going down the road in that van.
And I wasn't sure that it was going to make it up those mountains. It was really exciting. I'll tell you, there's a few times that I was nervous, so it was better for me to just sit down and relax, close my eyes, which was inevitable because I was tired. It's a time change. It's a 13-hour time change from where I am.
Anyway, like, it was fun. We pop out over that and little blue sky and beautiful mountains and just the most gorgeous mountains. And really the only thing you can see is some power lines here and there. There's no houses, there's no people, there's a few animals here and there, mostly cattle and sheep. But other than that, there's nothing but beautiful mountains. And overall, the trip was fantastic, though a little scary at times. But I mean, if you're interested in an adventure, it's definitely worth doing. So we arrived last night around, I don't know, 10 o'clock, I suppose. It was dark.
Welcome. Do I sit? Yes? Cheers.
Cheers. So,
Okay.
I like it, though. I do.
They were unknown until about 1840, when a British explorer reached the Wakhan Court of Pakistan and actually saw them. They had been reported by Marco Polo in 1275. Big, mature Marco Polo ram is a large animal, up to 300 pounds, long-bodied, long neck, and this is something that's very, very different in Argali-form. Antilopian body. Imagine an antelope with a huge body, but sheep horns, and you have a Marco Polo sheep. The record North American wild sheep horn is 52 inches. Well, these sheep, the horn goes up to 76 inches. This is incredible. But here you have this conglomerate of the Tian Shan Mountains, which means celestial mountains. What a beautiful name, huh? The rooftop of the world, the Pamirs, the Himalayas, which means abode of snow. And so this area then is crowned by this animal with the longest horns of any wild sheep. It doesn't seem real.
You're making this huge investment. It's expensive, it takes a lot of time, and there are no guarantees in wild sheep hunting.
For Marco Polo hunts, hunters need to walk.
We started out training at home, walking, climbing, leaving at 5:30 in the morning.
I knew there was going to be some serious preparation involved.
Doing what you need to do to get your body in the best, most physically good shape you can be in.
And need to survive at high altitude of Kyrgyz mountains.
You're gonna get your butt handed to you any way you look at it. So if you're not prepared, you just might as well not even go.
Sometimes real cold weather, sometimes snow, sometimes walking in the snow is really bringing some difficulties.
If you're gonna use a rifle, then you better be damn good at it. And our outfitter told us, listen, you could easily be looking at 4 or 5, maybe even a 600-yard shot, because you're just not gonna get any closer. You know, Olivia and I did a lot of research. We looked around, talked to a lot of different people. And in talking with the guys at Gunwerks, I explained to them my situation. I want to be able to shoot out to 600 yards. They said, listen, come down here, take our class.
So good morning. I appreciate you guys coming out here on behalf of Gunwerks and here at Davidson.
We'll talk to you, we'll walk you through this whole thing. And at the end of this, you will have a weapon system that you will be 110% confident that you can make that shot.
The idea is to make a system that keeps us from making those really simple mistakes in the field and helps us be more successful. You know, how do I shoot more consistently? How do I correct for the ballistics? You know, how do I interface in the gun?
These sheep are extremely skittish, And knowing that you're using the right caliber, the right type of bullet, the right shooting system with the right optics, and the right ranging system to go on that. I mean, it is a system.
When I came in, I'll be honest, I didn't have much confidence past 300 yards. Now I'm shooting 1,200 yards. This is incredible.
You know, our goal isn't to shoot 1,000 yards. Our goal is to find an opportunity that's in that, 400 to 600 yard range where we can stalk in and set up undetected with the animal and take our time and be calm and be collected. Don't get too excited about the size of the horns or antlers and make a very good shot.
I mean, it's energizing. I mean, it really motivates you to want to go out in the field and be with that gun and shoot it and shoot it and shoot it and shoot it, which as a hunter, as an ethical hunter, you must have the expert ability with your weapon of choice.
Really, we take the responsibility for providing our customers with a turnkey system that they can take to the field and experience success.
It takes a lot of commitment, not only to understand the hunt that you're going on, but taking the training as well. That animal that we decide to harvest, deserves the amount of time you put behind the weapon system so that you can take that animal down with one shot.
The time that we spent at the Gunwerks University, I walk away unbelievably confident in myself and in my firearm, in my optics, and in my capabilities when I'm put in a high-pressure situation.
Impact, solid.
When you're in a situation where the guide sees animals and it might be a little bit rushed, imagine they're trying to do everything they can to explain to you like what to do, but they're not really talking. They're just like motions. They grab onto you or they make,
And the guys are going crazy because you're not acquiring him in a scope to shoot him because they're trying to convince you that these are the rams that we need to go after, but you have no idea what they're saying. You just hear a guy that's going.
They did it to me today. They grabbed me by the coat and they dragged me up over here, and there's just no way to communicate. We have to keep everything sort of slow and low and just methodical because there's a lot going on.
Here they speak the Kyrgyzstan language and they also speak Russian. I don't speak either. There's really no communication.
I know for the hunting side of this thing, it's been tough.
You make one mistake, it's over. You blow it, you wasted hours, effort, sweat, crying, tears, climbing mountains with these horses. It's hard, and you can't blow it.
Here you have a country dominated by the Soviet Union, and so you have this huge military personnel, families, and all the paraphernalia that comes with the military. Everybody hunted wild sheep. If you're a very poor herder, what are you going to do? You're not going to kill your own livestock. You're going to go out there and kill wildlife, wild animals. And so Marco Polo sheep populations were greatly, greatly decreased. And then what happens? The fall of the Soviet Union, the total collapse of the Soviet Union.
Был как раз 1982 год, это был распад Советского Союза, и сельское хозяйство в Кыргызстане пошло на убыль, упадок был. И очень много чебанов и домашний скот весь отошел.
Then what happens? It becomes discovered by hunters. You can go hunt Marco Polo sheep. And so now you have the protection. And everybody sees that, hey, we're going to benefit economically.
For the most part, the sheep populations in Central Asia are doing very well. You can see hundreds of Marco Polo in a day. There are challenges. There's predation, there's some poaching. But where you find sustainable use hunting, you find good populations of Marco Polo sheep.
The key to wildlife conservation is economic.
Who's going to go out into the Naren region to go take pictures of a sheep from 600 yards away? My role in wildlife conservation is I'm giving value to that animal.
Сейчас официально выделяется 60 лицензий на весь Кыргызстан.
Using wildlife is important. If you have resources and you can use them in a manner which doesn't deplete them for future generations, then at least one of the criteria of smart wildlife and resource management has been met, which is it's sustainable. We can keep doing it.
It's not easy to protect those animals if they don't have such hunting organizations.
Which in turn has the local population of people caring about that animal.
На данный момент, по последнему учету численности Академии наук Кыргызстана, сейчас численность 14 тысяч. Оптимальная популяция численности баранов в Кыргызстане 15 тысяч.
The most significant and challenge to argali and ibex in Central Asia is still domestic stock, and it's more competition for forage. Many of them are grazing right up into argali and ibex habitat.
Местные жители охотятся на барана Марко Поло и на козерога для пропитания. Браконьерство. Да, это очень большая проблема, мы сейчас с ней боремся.
What sustainable use hunting and conservation hunting has done is given a value to that resource. The critical part that we see, though, is that the people must benefit, because if they're not getting the benefit, the wild sheep won't get the benefit.
What we pay is helping them to live in better conditions and to protect those animals. Economic-wise, it's really, really good for them.
And the key is to make sure that everyone gets a little piece of the pie and sees value in that argali resource. It's a critical component of what we're doing in Central Asia, working with these communities, very similar to some of the conservation success that we see in African nations, and it's being utilized in Central Asia to a fabulous effect.
Not only has Marco Polo sheep benefited, but everything, a whole wildlife community has prospered under this protective system.
Dropped the horses, got cameras, guns, and got up in the rock face. And Ruslan immediately found 5 rams bedded down.
About 550 yards. I had this animal straight on, laying down. That is a risky shot. It was risky. This has been like the most emotionally tough hunt.
4 of them are younger rams, probably in that, say, 5, 6, 7 year range. But 1 ram was definitely older and bigger. It was a good quality ram. In this case, this ram was bedded down. He was facing us 540 yards. Ruslan was adamant that she take this shot. To make a shot like that happen, I mean, that is going to be 9 out of 10 times you're not going to make it. So he was going to get up.
I shouldered my rifle, got as solid as possible, built my house. And that ram was down. I'm so grateful for the time that I spent at the Gunwerks Long Range University, because without the knowledge that I obtained there, I could not have made that come together.
He told us to go back around and drop down through this drainage and this shale field. And I mean, this thing's probably a 1/4 mile wide and about 3/4 mile long. And I've done a lot of shale skiing, going down through the shale, getting down the bottom, but this takes the cake. I mean, this was crazy. They'd found the sheep, the guides had, Beautiful ram. You know, I counting the rings. I'm thinking he might be 10, but he's definitely a 9-year-old ram. Just a beautiful animal.
Who else is going to come and see this? Who else is going to see these awesome Marco Polo or mid-Asian ibex? The only person that's going to come out here and experience this is the hunter. And they're the only ones that care and give back to this wildlife and the people of this area. And if anything happens to that, it's the demise of it. It's the end of all of this. And it's so incredible. We have to hold on to it.
This was one of the hardest Marco Polo hunts I have ever experienced in Kyrgyzstan.
To me, the people and the horses make this hunt, and we couldn't do it without either of them.
Once you institute a regulated hunting program and a sustainable use conservation hunting scheme, key is to make sure that everyone gets a little piece of the pie and sees value in that Argali resource.
We saw 25 to 50, 60, 70 sheep every day.
You know, and I've been in places in the United States where you can go for 2 or 3 days and not see any sheep.
It's a classic case of taking 1 to 2 to 3 to 5 animals out of a population and benefiting the population as a whole.
What we have here is a country who may be shutting this down because of politics. Unfortunately, that does a huge disservice to wildlife.
I'm not encouraged if they shut the hunting down. It's probably an unwise move.